Donald Trump's dark past is surfacing at the worst time for him as his approval plummets, as Americans are demanding the 25th Amendment. Donald Trump, desperate and flailing, trying to appoint his personal criminal defense attorney as the attorney general. And while Donald Trump may have complicit racketeering co-conspirators in the MAGA Republican Party who seem more than willing and in fact happy to cover up child sex trafficking rings, it only highlights Donald Trump's sick and disgusting past and the horrible things he did at Mar-a-Lago and the horrible things he did to other people, in my opinion. And the American people see what's really going down. And let me talk about an exclusive that the MeidasTouch network got. You have Republican Senator Thom Tillis of North Carolina saying that he would not confirm Todd Blanche as the Attorney General until Todd Blanche met with the survivors of Jeffrey Epstein. So Todd Blanche did a check-the-box meeting with the Epstein survivors where he was rude, abrasive, dismissive, bullying, and behaved horribly in an intimidating way, perhaps an abusive way. I mean, he was like angry and mad and basically was psychologically torturing the Epstein survivors. I just want you to think about, after all the Epstein survivors have been through in their lives, with the PTSD they suffer each and every day, with the strength that they show, and you know how hard it is for them to get up every morning to show that strength and to keep on fighting. Blanche does a check the box meeting, crosses his arms, and then basically starts to like shoo away the survivors, looking at his watch, like, I'm just going to check the box and then I'll get confirmed and then I will just continue to cover up the child sex trafficking ring. And by the way, you know, these MAGA Republicans are such disgusting scum at this point that they may end up, you know, I'm sure they'll probably end up confirming this guy who's the least qualified, worst human being possible for this position. But the American people see what's going on. The American people know what's going on. The MeidasTouch got the exclusive of what went down. The meeting lasted 1 hour because that's all Todd Blanche apparently had time for. MeidasTouch learned new details of what really happened inside Todd Blanche's meeting with the Epstein survivors as he continues to cover up Donald Trump's dark and disgusting past. Hat tip to Aaron Parnas. Aaron's so incredible, right, everybody? Subscribe to Aaron's YouTube channel as well. Aaron got the exclusive for the MeidasTouch network inside the first ever meeting between Epstein survivors and Todd Blanche. So they have this meeting, happened on Tuesday. It lasts an hour. The survivors tell Aaron what went down. Blanche begins by saying the following. Just think, after all the survivors have been through, after the torture and the further PTSD that Blanche and Bondi and all those crooked pieces of you-know-what caused the survivors, this is how Blanche opens up the meeting. I'm not asking you guys to commit to anything today. I don't expect that I have to commit to anything today. The survivor's like, what? I mean, if you're just a human being with a modicum of empathy, wouldn't you begin the meeting by saying something like, I just want to let you all know that I've heard what you have to say. I want to let you all know that it is a priority that we get to the bottom of what each and every one of you have been through. We know the pain you are feeling. I'm here for you. We have a staff. Look, I know with my job, I have a lot of things that I, of course, have to be focused on, but I care deeply about what you're doing. I will personally make sure that I spend the needed time to be helpful, and I'm going to have my staff and all the top people in the DOJ work to make sure you get justice, even if I can't do everything. I mean, wouldn't you do something like at the most basic level? I mean, I'd want to do much more than that, but he starts off and says, I'm not asking you guys to commit to anything. I don't expect that I have to commit. What a dick. Like, honestly, what a piece of shit. I mean, what else? Excuse my language. You know, as I always go, WTF? That's the book that I got. The WTF, pre-order it, by the way. WTF, what the heck is going on? Like, what the hell is this? And have empathy, have decency, behave normal. What are you doing? And then he goes on to, then the survivors asked him why he said there were no investigative leads. Blanche replied that he never said that. They pressed him, pointing out that he said it in the media. And then you had people saying, so what's going on with the former Prince Andrew? What's going on with this? I don't have any authority over that. I'm just the AG. This is what Blanche says. You need to talk to other people. I can't open an investigation. They can. I'm just the Attorney General. And then you have Sky Roberts, the brother of Virginia Giuffre, says, respectfully, Mr. Blanche, what do you need from us to help you open an investigation? Then Blanche said, well, I need testimony and evidence. Sky reminded him, Virginia gave sworn testimony. They're photographed. There are the files. The co-conspirators are listed. What are you even talking about? To which Blanche was basically like, all right, I gotta go. You have some of these survivors, like Annie Farmer, after meeting with Blanche, she goes, I feel even more, that's what Annie Farmer says. After meeting with Blanche, I feel even more confident in urging senators to vote against his confirmation as the United States Attorney General. She described Blanche as abrasive, condescending, and intentionally non-committal to survivors, contrasting his demeanor with his public testimony during the confirmation hearing. Farmer said that Blanche criticized the failures of the previous administration, was blaming Biden. This is all Biden's fault, but refused to take any responsibility himself. And all the survivors were like, seriously, what the hell is even this? One survivor said the following, that they're furious at this meeting with Blanche. When institutions fail to address the concerns of sexual abuse victims, the betrayal comes at a much higher price. This perpetuates the cycle of oppression by creating psychological barriers that prevent victims from seeking necessary help, resulting in oppression in its most intimate form. Survivors being implicitly and explicitly told that victimization was their fault, that their trauma didn't deserve recognition, and that their recovery wasn't worth institutional investment. Danny Bensky put out the statement. Today, as a survivor of Epstein, I testified before the Senate Judiciary Committee about the immense disappointment and re-traumatization my survivor sisters and I experienced when the Department of Justice released our private identifying information. During the hearing, I felt a glimmer of humanity and genuine emotion from Senator Thom Tillis when he demanded that Todd Blanche meet with the Epstein survivors after refusing to do so for 9 months. For a moment, it felt like we could put partisan politics aside for a greater purpose. Unfortunately, Todd Blanche treated the meeting as a mere check-the-box exercise intended to secure votes for his confirmation. He danced around his wording, repeatedly interrupted us, and could not commit to anything that would demonstrate good faith or begin to restore trust. He did not adequately account for the release of materials that exposed survivors' identifying information and images. He offered no credible plan to investigate and pursue accountability beyond Epstein and Ghislaine. I hope Senator Tillis will recognize that this meeting was insufficient. Blanche is not qualified to serve as Attorney General. I urge Tillis and every member of the Senate to vote no for his confirmation. Here's what Epstein survivor Liz Stein had to say. Let's play it.
I don't want to color it that way because you were there. So you share with us whether this meeting had anything to do with you.
Look, it had absolutely nothing to do with us, and it had everything to do with Blanche checking a box so that he can get a promotion. I don't think that we had high expectations going into this meeting. I certainly did not, but I didn't expect to walk out of the meeting feeling the way that we feel right now. It was demoralizing, to say the very least. And I think that Todd Blanche had an opportunity today to throw us some kind of bone, to agree to something, just, if he offered almost anything, I think that we would have been happy that he just offered us something, but he completely talked around questions. He didn't give transparent answers. He didn't give us any promises as far as following up on investigative leads. He had no real answers for the Ghislaine Maxwell transfer, and no real explanation for the improper redactions. What he did say was that he would be open to meeting us again. However, he would be open after we go to the FBI. Survivors have been going to the FBI for 30 years.
Right.
For 30 years, we've been going to the FBI. And why should we have any confidence in the FBI or the DOJ right now? Again, it felt like more political posturing and using survivors the way that we've been used as political pawns. We're victims of crime. At the end of the day, we're victims of the crime of sex trafficking. And the fact that our Department of Justice will not take that seriously is beyond concerning, not just to us, but should be concerning to Americans all across this country.
Let's listen to what Virginia Giuffre's sister-in-law, Amanda Roberts, had to say. Let's play this clip right here.
As we now, Sky Roberts and his wife, Amanda Roberts. Sky's sister, Virginia Giuffre, was an Epstein survivor, one of the most vocal advocates for victims of sexual assault. She died by suicide last year. So you guys just got out of the meeting. How was it?
I think it was everything we expected it to be. It was everything that, unfortunately, Todd Blanche has been doing to us for the past 9 months. There were no real admissions. There were no real commitments being made. There was a lot of diversions when, we asked about specific comments about, like you mentioned, there weren't investigative leads. And a lot of it was like, I didn't really say that. That's not what I meant. And so a lot of it was just, there was no really getting to the bottom of it. And us really trying to give him the meat to the story. There was just a lot of circles and it felt very deflating.
So
here's what Danny Bensky had to say on CNN.
It wasn't substantive. It was not productive. It just felt like, okay, well, we have a half hour, air your grievances. Great, I met with survivors. It's like, that's not what we're asking for. We are asking for investigations. We have been it's so exhausting to keep saying the same things. Like, America doesn't want to hear the same things over and over again. We just want action, and we're not getting any action. And it's just after a day where you feel like maybe there was a small glimmer of hope, and now we've ticked the box and we're moving on.
Here's what Bensky said during her testimony before the Senate. Let's play it.
I'm a teacher. In my school, if a student released a nude photo depicting a peer's sexual assault and abuse, they would almost certainly face expulsion. And yet, this is what our Department of Justice did to crime victims. Today, Todd Blanche has been at the helm of the release of nude images of survivors, the outing of Jane Does, and the exposure of more than 100 victims identifying information and documents describing horrific acts of abuse, including my own. Instead of treating this release as its own violation and holding the man who led it accountable, you have a decision on whether you place him in the highest law enforcement position in this country. In December, before the document release, our attorneys submitted 350 victims' names to the Department of Justice as victims' names to be redacted prior to the release. In that first release, I found my name in 2 places. In that next release in January, my name appeared again, but this time the redactions were so far worse. The files displayed not only my name, but my phone number, my former addresses, where I worked, and other identifying information. When my name appeared in the 3rd file release, it became difficult to believe that this was not intentional.
Here's more from her testimony before the Senate.
We deserve to be heard directly, not dismissed and ignored. There are numerous investigative leads that must be followed, despite Mr. Blanche's claim that there are none. Epstein and Maxwell did not abuse women and children alone. They did not build their operation alone. Others enabled these crimes, exploited victims, and avoided accountability for decades. You do not have to take my word for it. Several weeks ago, after examining the evidence, Chairman James Comer directed Todd Blanche to open investigations into 2 men connected to Epstein. The Epstein files are not merely a collection of embarrassing names and politically damaging associations. They are records connected to the sexual exploitation and trafficking of girls and young women. They contain information about how Epstein's network worked, who assisted him, and whether additional crimes can still be investigated. The Department of Justice should pursue every credible lead, not just work tirelessly, not just to shut down the investigations. The survivors in this room know there are investigative leads because they are our stories. Mr. Blanche knows it too, yet he has chosen not to pursue them. Mr. Blanche's actions have destroyed survivors' trust. According to public reporting, Mr. Blanche spent approximately 9 hours meeting with Ghislaine Maxwell. He did not even spend 9 minutes meeting with the survivor. Afterward, Maxwell was transferred to what many have described as a summer camp prison.
And here's where Caroline Levitt says the Epstein files are a classic Washington hoax, she says. Let's play it.
But if you look at how this Epstein story sort of evolved over the past week, it's classic Washington hoax.
Yes.
You have Democrats on the Oversight Committee leaking redacted information to their favorite reporter at CNN, who then pops the story with that redacted information and does not reveal that the unredacted version is available. And the unredacted version proves that the so-called victim in this email is a woman who is unfortunately deceased, but prior to her death said on numerous occasions that President Trump never did anything wrong and was always incredibly friendly in her interactions with him. And so it's a purposeful leak to try to manufacture this news cycle to drag the president. And we've seen this play out so many times. It is a classic playbook of the Democrats using their friends in the fake news to spin up a narrative about the president. And so we just don't tolerate it. We don't give in. We just call it out for what it is. And we move on and we focus on the issues that we know the president was elected on. And I would just add one more thing on Epstein. I mean, the Department of Justice has turned over tens of thousands of pages to the House Oversight Committee and to the American people. I mean, they released everything that's legally releasable online or to the House Oversight Committee. They also tried to move grand juries to unseal documents in various states. And unfortunately, those judges declined. And they've been fully cooperating with the House Oversight Committee. So this idea that there's files that the DOJ is hiding or that this administration is not being transparent is just totally false. It's a fallacy. And I understand people have questions, and when you're on the outside, you're skeptical of government, and people should be. But there is literally nothing to hide. And President Trump has maintained that this entire time. And so, again, this is a classic playbook being run by the Democrats.
Now, you can't have much faith in these Republicans at all, because Republican Senator Thom Tillis, with all of this being said, he commends Todd Blanche. I commend Todd Blanche for doing what all of his predecessors over the last 2 decades never did. Meet the victims of Jeffrey Epstein's horrific crimes. I appreciate his willingness to directly engage and listen to them. No, he didn't do that, though. What are you talking about? He didn't do that at all. He further abused them. He further traumatized them. He further caused them more PTSD. What are you talking about? Anyway, hit subscribe. Let's get to 7 million subscribers. Thanks for watching, y'all.
Breaking news right now. My brothers and I wrote a book. It's called WTF America. And well, doesn't that just say it all? It comes out officially this October, but you can pre-order your copy today. Just scan the QR code or click the link in the description below.